Calvin Harris's fourth murder trial is nearly at an end after more than 3 weeks of testimony. Today, attorneys for both sides made their final case to the judge in closing arguments. WENY's DiMattei was in the courtroom as the prosecution and defense worked to explain to the judge how the evidence proves Harris's guilt or innocence. Ross.
Good evening, Renata. Yeah, closing arguments have officially wrapped up here at the Schoharie County Courthouse. Today we heard from the two lead attorneys from both the prosecution and the defense. The lead defense attorney being Bruce Barquette for Cal Harris's defense team, and the lead prosecutor is the Tioga County District Attorney Kirk Martin. And from what we heard from them was two very different pictures. The prosecution, let's start with them being Kirk Martin. He painted Calvin Harris in this case as a case of domestic violence in which only one person had incentive to kill Michelle Harris, and that person being Cal Harris himself. They pointed, both sides spent a lot of time today on the hundreds of blood-spattered evidence found at the Harris home. The prosecution pointing out that much of that matching Michelle's DNA, and also there was evidence of a cleanup involved with that blood. Also, the prosecution pointing out the motive involved in this case. They say that Michelle didn't want to accept a $700,000 divorce settlement from Calvin Harris and was ready to move forward with a hearing in order to hopefully win more of Cal Harris's small fortune that he had accumulated from being a used car owner in Owego. Also, the prosecution says Cal Harris never really made an effort to find Michelle Harris after she went missing. And now let's talk about the defense and lead defense attorney Bruce Barquette. He painted a very different picture. Like I said, he made Cal seem like a loving father who was wrongly accused of his wife's murder. He paints this as more of a disappearance case where Michelle disappeared and was not murdered. He also points out there was several errors made in the collection of the blood evidence by police investigators in the days after Michelle went missing. And he also says they have some witnesses who said the divorce leading up to Michelle's disappearance was actually calming down and was not escalating. And in fact, they had witnesses come in and say Michelle had in fact accepted that $700,000 settlement. So we heard two very different pictures, but the one common theme being there is no hard evidence in this case, only circumstantial evidence. That's something both sides have accepted, and that makes it very hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Michelle was in fact killed by Calvin Harris, and that's what the prosecution has been trying to do this entire time. So now that closing arguments have wrapped up, the big question is, when can we expect a verdict? Coming up on WENY News at 6 o'clock, I'll tell you what the speculation is, as well as what I've heard from prosecutors. That's coming up on WENY News at 6 o'clock. Reporting live at the Schoharie County Courthouse, DiMattei, WENY News.